Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino.
Welcome back. We've just been talking for a few minutes. Your trip, you've been down under the past couple of weeks, and took in some tennis, but also took in some horse racing.
Yes.
One of my first questions was about the past performances, because I said there was something on Twitter within the past couple of weeks where somebody was looking at foreign past performances and kind of giving them thumbs up. And I have over the years downloaded European and Asian, other than Hong Kong, which certainly has, I think, plenty of good information available. I think we do the best and have the most information available. And you said the PPs down there, you compared to ours, you would rate ours higher.
Ours are appreciably better. I would think of theirs. I don't know what they officially call it, but I know isn't there if you get the small program at Saratoga, don't they have this very abbreviated type of data about a couple races or something? I don't look at it too much because we have these sheets 3 days in advance.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it.
It's a very, it's better than the old style programs. We just have a number and the connections. It's got some, but I don't think any serious person could ever. And the other thing is, it's like the 1970s for me. You don't get the things 3 days in advance. You get it that morning. So it's a lot of fun, though. It was summertime. You can probably tell it was fantastic. It's the old thing I always say. It's like a first date. No matter what she says, if you don't get the second date, it wasn't that great. My point is, I would go back in a heartbeat. A millisecond. I did not find the flight to be. I watched 2 movies. I slept for about 3 hours, and I did about 3 hours worth of horse racing work. So it really passed for me. I know a lot of people wouldn't have a work function to take it up, but I felt very productive, and it flew. And it's a long flight. Don't get me wrong. But I was able to make it work for me. So I felt good about that. The tennis, it was just a great opportunity for me to see, Novak Djokovic play in person. The weather is fantastic. Sydney, it's funny, Seth, 2 summers ago, I saw the actual speaker's corner. We had the horse thing speaker's corner. And then in Sydney, the main train station to get off is Circular Quay, which was the Michael Tabor horse with Todd Pletcher years ago. Key with the QAE. But most importantly, Seth, I know I can never outrun Steve Bick, but Steve Bick didn't go 8,000 miles to get you a tie. I know you're conservative. So
thank you.
The Victorian Racing Club, they are kind of the jockey club of.
Very good. Very good.
The box cost $12.
It's a nice presentation.
Yes, they were quite nice. Enjoy that.
Thank you.
I said to my wife, she goes, "What was this for?" She thought I got it for myself, but I didn't bring it into my room because I got home Monday night, about 8:00 at night in our house. I said, "It's for Seth. It's a gift for Seth. I got him a tie. He likes it." I said, "So one of the things I'll have is because it looks a lot like the Breeders' Cup tie."
It does.
And I said,
exactly.
Seth to be color. Like, no, this is 8,000 miles away from the Breeders' Cup. So
no, thank you.
The plant was beautiful. It was a great time. The one thing I said to Seth is, they only ran one day. I was telling Seth, I just thought it was a given. It's their summer. I'm going to the biggest racing plant. Melbourne is the sports city of the nation. They got the Australian Open. They got the Grand Prix. They got the best golf. And they have the premier racetrack. Melbourne is the sports capital of really Australia. Sydney, though, one of the great cities in the world. So I can't wait to go back. there's summer.
You said there was also bookmakers. Did you take advantage of the bookmakers? And if you do,
I have to tell you, it's a good marketing study. And I was telling the guys before we came on the air that I completely understand how a Capital District person who didn't grow up with it or didn't have anybody shepherd them through it goes to Saratoga and they think they're at the space launch or it's hieroglyphics, because I pay attention to the sport and I was like tiptoeing around trying to get a feel for what each number up there, because they don't have just like saddlecloth number and the present odds. It's very confusing, and I'm obviously 60 years old and I'm paying attention. So I now completely understand how intimidating going to a racetrack. I put it this way: there's no way you could go to a racetrack without a friend that knows what it is to walk you through it. So the bookmakers were there. I didn't take any pictures of them, I thought, but I did take a picture of the sign, the bookmakers, about 6 major companies. I had heard of about 3 of them. And then the real thing was, so there are the people, and there was one woman, but it was 5 guys taking the bets. But in a different area, I saw all of the people working for said companies on computers, getting odds and everything to, keep their edge, etc. It was quite and the racetrack I went to is the racetrack that hosts the Melbourne Cup, which is probably the one race 95% of our audience is familiar with in Melbourne. That's Flemington. It was great. It was wonderful. And I know that for most people, the hurdle is the flight, but I found it to be a non-event for me and well worth it to get to a place that's, the other side of the earth. And I had a great time. I had great weather. One morning, Seth, because I know you enjoy summer like me, at 11 a.m., it was already 100 degrees.
Oh, jeez.
It was a dry heat like Scottsdale. I was like, wow, morning. I mean, so it was great. It's great to be back. The fact that I drove home, it was mild. I didn't see snow till Kasaki. I looked out the back window on our lawn today. It's February 3rd, and it was mild. It's unbelievable, the weather, mild. So, and by the way, on the other note, apparently with Mr. Seth, my horses have to pay $75 to get a plug, because last time we worked, I took the spaghetti on the thing, the Louis Lindor Jr. horse from Parks, just step on it, that paid $40 and didn't even get a whisper from Seth. So apparently $75 must be the floor for getting mentioned on my picks. But on the good news on this is I'm at plus 133 and change. My point is, well, obviously with a $40 winner, I had a good day. On the 13th.
I actually remember the horse, and I remember you picked, but I did. Yeah,
and it's funny. I want to show,
but I remember it because it was a Parks horse, and the Parks horses for the last couple of months, you have to take an extra look at them.
And I told
because normally, in the summertime, a Parks horse comes to New York, but the last couple of months, they have definitely been worth paying attention.
And my wife likes to tease me about how much I remember unimportant stuff. What I know about Louis Lindor Jr. was, when Keeneland runs that first baby race, it's kind of a thing. The big names show up. And I think it was 2 springs ago, Louis backhanded Wesley Ward and Steve Asmussen. So things are rolling pretty well. I know there's severe weather in the United States. Santa Anita, I think I have this right, has already canceled Sunday's card. Am I right?
I didn't.
Is it Sunday's card, Dan? Yeah. So they're expecting horrific flooding. Now, did you see Santa Anita? I know it's a rough window for you getting home. Did you see Santa Anita yesterday?
I saw a little bit of it while I was in here.
Okay, $15 pick 5.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Okay, here we go. I rattled this off. And I know people say like it's their backup tickets and everything. I wouldn't even want them for my backup tickets. I want to run through the mutuals yesterday for you, Seth. First one, if you didn't get it early, so you were probably in here, but Sharp Lorenzo paid $15. After that, 580, 520, 380, 280, 360, 280, 520. So I broke down, and this is one of the difficult things. I broke down the doubles into dollars and everything. 13, 5, $2.50, $3.10, $2.80, $3.50. Pick threes, $6, $5, $5, $9. The pick four, $12.65 and $7.30. The pick five, $15. Very rare I've ever seen anything like that.
Was it a function of field size too? Was
Only one of them. The third race yesterday had the other. I shouldn't say that. The others are what those of us that follow Southern California racing come to expect: 5 and 7 horse fields. That's kind of normal. They did have a 3 horse field.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was the first or the second race. Because they were off the turf yesterday. There was some weather.
The third race was the short one, the 3. And that was one of the few races the favorite didn't win. The 3 horse field. I think the favorite ran last at odds on, but what I'm bringing up is, and I've had conversations with Brian Atta often about this because we're completely different bettors. My opinion is I wouldn't have even invested in the ticket that had the $15 winner as some type of insurance. I would have, in the long run, I invest other places, and when you win, it's like, imagine sticking around. What's it, pick 5, 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
Honey, I hit the pick 5. Oh, that's great. We lost money.
And a lot.
Yeah. So, and so there's some weather. I think there's weather also else. I mean, it's rainy and etc. And also, I got the feel. Are we in that window where Naira's only running 3 days a week?
Yes.
Okay.
Started last week. It started.
Because I turned it on yesterday, as I said, you're usually my Friday afternoon radio in the other room while I'm doing this stuff, and I kind of got the feel listening to them like they were back for the week. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, except for President's Day. They'll go 4 days that week running on President's Day.
Okay. So,
but a month and a half or so.
And it's a big day today. I think this is the time when the 3-year-old racing gets more serious.
Speaking of top of the hour, I'm going to have Jeremy Plonk. He does the countdown to the Crown package. You can pull that up online. But I had him on because 3-year-old action is all over the place today. Yeah. Southwest down in Arkansas, the Withers in New York, Holy Bull in California, Holy Bull in Florida, Bob Lewis out in California. So plenty of 3-year-old
That means they
action.
changed their schedule because the Southwest used to be President's Day.
They canceled because of weather.
Okay, but that used to be the President's Day race. That was like kind of, I always remember that schedule.
They did juggle it.
Yeah. So,
but this year it was supposed to be run last week or what?
I missed it because I know the date came and went while I was in transit, but apparently the Bob Baffert horses didn't move, so they can't run.
Correct.
That's kind of surprising, and I don't understand this, and we're not going to discuss it. But it's a stallion that we talked about before. Lauban, is this a thing?
It became a thing, I guess, with the story that came out. But will it become more of a thing? I don't know. The one thing, going back to the Baffert thing, there was a letter to the editor, I think at TDN, that I hadn't even thought about. But the owners, Baffert's owners this year said, we're not doing it. We're not moving. We're staying with Bob. And if we miss the Derby, we miss the Derby. And the letter to the editor made the point that I hadn't even thought about. It also affects the breeders of those. I mean, your stallion gets a Kentucky Derby winner all of a sudden. So the breeders are now getting zapped too of horses that
they're low on my list of concerns for. And any breeder that's waiting for.
I may be in that camp too, but I hadn't thought about it before.
But the other thing also is, what Kentucky Derby winner as a breeder are you seeking?
No. Your stallion has produced a Kentucky Derby winner.
Yes, I know because of the glory, but I'm like,
I mean,
we get a lot of stiffs with the Kentucky Derby.
It looks pretty good on the page.
It's selling it, yes.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So I missed a lot, but it's probably the quietest time of year to go to Australia for horse racing.
I will ask, were you? Two things, because you mentioned you kind of have alluded to it, but before we went on the air, you said the newspaper in the morning has 8 pages of horse racing,
and this is in the midst of the Australian Open. I mean, which is a world event for them. But you open it up, it's Australian rules football, cricket is their soccer, and then Australian Open about 4 pages. It was the first week, and then page after page after page, horse racing, because or they run around the nation pages in the morning. It's well covered. It is a very much mainstream sport in Australia.
Yeah, just the newspaper coverage. And finally, did you get to the tennis final? Because I'm not a huge tennis fan.
No, I was in transit. I was literally in Fiji.
I guess the final was.
I was in Fiji getting my connecting flight when he had lost the first set. Sinner. He went on to lose the first two, and he made the huge comeback. Sinner is the guy that knocked out Novak Djokovic. And I knew that. I mean, because I'm dialed into it. I mean, I knew even if Novak made it, I wasn't going to go. But I probably wasn't going to the finals because those tickets were very expensive. The day that I went was very reasonably priced to see the greatest tennis player of all time. But yes, yep.
Very good. All right, I'm going to look at Gulfstream a little bit later on, but we'll kick things off at Aqueduct. And again, it's also a nice day at Oaklawn, big day out at Santa Anita as well. So strap in because it's going to be a fun day of racing. We'll kick things off taking a look at racing this afternoon at Aqueduct with their opener. Plain vanilla claimers. They're going to go 7 furlongs. What did you see in race number 1?
As I said the last time I worked, I thought the card was very intriguing. We had actually a couple of winners, including the big one. I think this card today is terrific. It's multiple stakes races. The weather could be an impediment. I mean, yesterday, obviously, it was, about as sloppy as we see anymore. When we were kids, if you ever see old film of what a sloppy racetrack looked like, it's very different from today. But yesterday, and that indicates to me they just got so much rain. That's the only time it looks that bad anymore. So, pay attention to the network. Post time is 11:50. Couple stakes races. 4, 5, 6 in the opener as we try and get to the 2-year mark. 4, 5, 6 here. I thought there was about, I want to say 3 races, maybe a 4th, where there seems to be 2 major players in each race. That's not the Mount Everest race. And I think I looked elsewhere in all of them. And this race is it. The 5 and the 6 are the less than 2-to-1 first and second choices. But Lafitte's Fleet, to me, I think there's a couple of races today where I don't talk about like class relief very often, but I'm very much in New York now with starter allowance races, restricted claimers and claimers. It means a lot to me. And I think Lafitte's Fleet is finding the right level today. Now, there are 2 horses to his outside that are cumbersome. But to me, we're getting back to a level. This horse won at Saratoga for 40, going 7/8. And I also think we'll receive a little bit better price than the 4-to-1 based on the next 2 horses I'm going to talk about. Just Call Ray, Wayne Potts. I think Wayne had a winner yesterday. Now, this horse ran in consecutive 1Xs and now drops all the way down to 20. Well, Trevor McCarthy is aboard. It's going to be a short price, but that 94 to me, going forth, Seth, just so you know, it'll make sense. That's the Baby Yoda thing. So that's a Baby Yoda thing. And I'm not looking for 7-5 on a Baby Yoda number. This horse, to me, is shoulder to shoulder with my horse at 1/4 the price. And then Candy's Tycoon, David Jacobson, who's helped me through the winter, sends out this runner for the first start since August 13th. 4, 5, 6 in the Big A's open.
I went against both the 5 and the 6 too. The drops are just too much. But the drop on the 6, this is almost unfair to bettors, but I don't know what could be done to change it. Last raced in August at a 62,500 level, and it was a voided claim. Now comes back in February for 20. And the last workout, 3 furlongs and 40. Before that, 4 furlongs and 53. But it's David Jacobson and a horse with some back class. And I say in the afternoon a lot, these are the kind that can win by a city block or they can lose by a city block. And neither one would be surprising. And like I say, it's kind of unfair to bettors. I'm just not sure what the solution is exactly.
I think about 2 months ago I mentioned, and I'm clearly not here to produce your show, but Paul Matisse, I think, in discussing of this voided claims, that what once started out as a tremendously perfect idea, like many things in life, people have tried to find side doors or back doors to get an edge. And I thought Paul laid it out, as no one surprised has ever met him, very thoroughly about.
The one thing I completely disagree with, as I understand it, if you claim a horse and there's a voided claim, you can't override that. And I think you should be able to. Oh, here, we're voiding the claim because of this. You should be able to say, nope, I still want the horse. But as I understand it, they can't do that. I'm
sure you're right. And I agree with you that you should be able to. I understand that. I want the horse. I agree.
Second race this afternoon, state bred maiden claimers going 6.5.
And by the way, I don't trust it on Twitter. Was there a fired steward in New York?
Yes. Yeah, it was in the racing form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, read the racing form. It's like I come for the pictures. 832 for me. Midnight Express hasn't run in about 10 months. Listed as a first-time gelding. I find that extremely believable. I know we've talked about this before. You've had trainers on talking to you like, 14 days they felt confident.
Yeah.
I feel very confident in 10 months that, and this horse is running well. So usually when they geld them, it's because they don't really have their mind on running or something. But this horse was okay. And by the way, Ruben Silvera rode Just Step on it a couple weeks ago for me, 21 days ago for $40. But my thought is that, and it's Rudy this time of year, that this horse and David, 7-2 on the morning line. It's not like a big find. For second, English Storm. It's a big price in here, making the third start on dirt in the cycle. This is where I like horses. This is the right spot. And for third, first time in for a tag, David Donk sends out Captain Party number 2. So 8-3-2.
And should flesh that out a little bit. People, why was the steward fired? The article, none of the articles I read gave a direct reason why. But for people who don't know, there were 3 stewards in New York. One works for the New York Racing Association, one works for the Jockey Club, one works for the Racing and Gaming Commission. And NYRA fired their steward.
And which we should always point out, it's always been that way. That's always been the groups that have brought a steward.
But again, there was no reasoning, but it was also interesting in the article that disqualification that had everybody up in arms. This time was in December, I think. He wasn't in the booth that day. There was a substitute in the booth. So it was.
He got fired for being absent.
You can find the article of most of the regular Blood Horse, TDN, Daily Racing Form. Aqueduct's third race this afternoon, state-bred optional claimers, non-winners, and 2 other than 3/4 of a mile.
261. Good friend of the program, Mark Henning, sends out timely request. Only the second start since Saratoga. Beaten favorite in the Fleet Indian. That's the big New York Breeders' Day at Saratoga. That was going 2 turns. The one race was a sprint. Beaten favorites. I think sometimes shortening up out of a 9-furlong 2-turn race to a sprint. But I think Timely Conquest got run off his feet. I don't think his losing as a beaten favorite isn't as much of a negative to me as it could be in other circumstances. I just think in that race, he had no chance. So, I mean, it's you're thinking, well, how can the favorite have no chance in the race? Well, the race dynamics. And sometimes you just don't have a chance. I mean, my best example of, what was it? It was the Forgo, right? So now Gunite and Elite Power are going to run against each other. And Elite Power has had his way with Gunite. But I'm not going to go through all the particulars. But that was the day you had to believe if Gunite can't beat him today, he's never going to beat him. Everything was going Gunite's way, and nothing was going and he beat him that day. And then when it wasn't everything, it turned around. Well, Tommy Conquest, I don't think had a chance. So there's no demerits for me. So what does that leave me? Second career start, a 7-furlong effort. That is impressive. So that's why I'm going for Timely Conquest. For a second, number 6, Peak of Chic. Oh, this is another race where I have the 2 horses. Won 2 in a row before losing the open condition. Has good early speed from the outside. And then Temperamental going out for Rob Atras. Consistent runner of late. I know I put this horse for third. This horse scares me a little bit more than Peak of Chic, but I thought Peak of Chic, if we're having inclement weather and everything, is going to be outside. 261.
Race number 4 this afternoon. It's a conditional claimer, $25,000 tags. Non-winners a 3 lifetime the condition, 6.5 furlongs the trip.
156, the other Abarrio, Face Abarrio, second off the claim for Oscar Barrera, the third $16,000 claim. I've said this before, and it seems to be, I don't want to say starkly obvious because very few things in this sport are starkly obvious, but he's in the right spot today, which means if we did this like Jeopardy, you said the answer is he's a claiming $25,000 horse and he ran at a starter allowance. The answer is he got throttled. It's just, there seems to be a dividing line that you just can't compete with these starter allowances. And I've said this before, when Seth and I grew up, there were no starter allowance races in New York. It was a much simpler game, but I have found that there is a big chasm. And Face Abarrio today is in a spot far more realistic to find the winner's circle with Manny. Hatch, number 5, goes out, couple of races in restricted, won the 2L, and then was nowhere to be found in the 3L and regressed. And that 80 in victory, that's a Baby Yoda. And for third, Devil's K going out for Tom Morley. $25,000 claim, second time. Just a life thing, Seth. Didn't Tom Morley used to go to the fairgrounds in the winter?
Yeah.
And once you parent in life, you'll realize this. I knew at some point that probably had to end because their girls would have to go to school full time. And that, it would add. So it's kind of, somebody says, oh, he's wintering in New York. Yes, life dynamics mean that. So 156. I will actually tell you that I was waiting for the time to come when he would no longer be able to do that. And the time has arrived. I think, and I noticed that Maggie's doing wintertime stuff, which hasn't always been the case over the last 10 years, let us say. And that's because I presume both their daughters now have to be school age.
They both got to be in that ballpark, certainly. 5th race at Aqueduct this afternoon. Optional claimer, non-winners of 2 other than the unusual distance of 1 mile and 3/16.
Yes. Now, I know you have you looked at this race yet? Okay. This is obviously not the way we usually do it. What are your thoughts on the 6 here?
I couldn't get past the 6. Okay. I mean, it's Chad and Klarovich, and the numbers are moving in the right direction. And I agree with you on the card today. There were a few that, like the race we talked about earlier, that I think have records, short prices, but records or that class move that makes.
What happens if the most recent race is the Baby Yoda?
But it's
1 to 2 looks awful, right?
But it's Chad Brown, and so I don't know. I get what you're saying because it is an aberration, clearly. But I think the horse can go backwards a little bit and still maybe have a little bit of an edge on this bunch.
My thought was that if the 99, most recent effort, and Dan, you can put up my selections if that's convenient for the folks. I mean, it's not like a leading contender is 1 to 2 on the morning line. Comes out of a 99 effort going 9 furlongs on the eve of Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. Now, if leading contender regresses back to the high 80s, let's say, I think 1 to 2 or lower looks awful. Why? Because I think there's a couple horses, the 1, the 2 that fit with him. Now it's like, well, it's not supposed to be a competitive race at 1 to 2. But Seth is absolutely right. I mean, what if the 99 isn't a Baby Yoda? Maybe if it's the new day, the light bulb, as you like to say, went off.
It comes back 9 points and you still have a 90. Yeah, which would have an edge in here over most of them.
Yeah, you right. So you have Good Skate has the 90 in a 10 furlong race at Aqueduct. So it's just really about my usual thumb. So it's 2, 6, 4. I went for Good Skate, who's 3 to 1 and will probably be higher as a function of leading contender being lower. He's put up a 90 going 10. I agree with Seth. I think this race will probably be a 91, 92. So that's leading contender coming back, etc. But Good Skate was the horse that, as I parsed through it, he was the one that I wanted to put on top over leading contender. And the race goes through him. Kuchar for third. Now, let me ask you something as a you're one of the few people I know you enjoy both verticals and horizontals. Is leading contender a free square?
No.
Okay. I agree with that completely, obviously. Yeah. But you would think sometimes at 1 to 2 on the morning line that would indicate. But I agree with you completely.
I mean, those are the kinds. You can go either way, I suppose, with those. If you have a big price somewhere else in the sequence, but these are the kind that would definitely be on my ticket. But the 1 to 2 is the one you want to beat in the sequence. So I would go deeper as well.
I can say this in theory, and I know I would do it. He is the type of horse that I would actually carry and play defensively because I think he's that strong. On others, like I talked about at the Santa Anita race, I'd rather not win tickets and continue to playing on and the tickets that I like. But leading contender, because I like the card today, I would be willing, if I was a pick 5 player, I would take 1 in a sequence. I'm not taking 2, and I'm definitely not taking 3. But I would take 1 because of the type of horses I typically like. I would take the other 4 and figure I could still. And I told you before, I think if they showed data of what all the combinations with leading contender being in it, you would find that there's some real juicy prices still to be had with just only him, with the type of horses I like.
All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, more Aqueduct a little bit later on Gulfstream. Stay tuned. Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer. Wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now. Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Seth, Merrow, Anthony, Mormino. Jump back in. Aqueduct this afternoon. Race number 6. State bred maiden special. 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs.
I guess we'll call this the Just Step on It race. 827. I don't have much of an opinion except when you don't have an opinion, look outside. I have a first-time starter, number 8. I don't know how to pronounce this. Elfgar? That's what I'm going with. I'm just phonetically, I don't know if it's a place on the earth. Rachel Sells is listed in the form as 0 for 12 with firsters, but I have to tell you, I'm pretty okay with the workouts leading up for the debut with Lane Luzzy because I'm getting 15 to 1. And what are the rules? You get to ask more questions. Number 2 from the route, Liberty Central, making the 5th career start, has 3 runner-up positions, and then another firster. He has it all for Ray Handel, an offspring of Lauban. 827.
7th race at Aqueduct, conditional claimer. They will travel 7 furlongs.
854. Blue plate special, baby. What was that, Woolworths?
Blue plates.
Kmart used to have the blue light specials, but that was
on the little thing they would push around.
Yeah, but I was like, blue plate, or is that just a generic diner term?
I thought it was a generic diner
I think you're
term.
right. I think it's a generic diner term. Is my top pick in here for John Toscano. Solid effort most recently and runner-up for second. Going out, Ice Road was my top pick. Excuse with Peter Walder. I sent my picks in before noon, and I was done. And that's when I turned on the network, and they're starting their show. And obviously, it's a sea of slop. I could be in trouble with my top picks. So Blue Plate Special, and then Opportunity Set. You know what's interesting to me, because enough time has passed. Rudy really never truly bounced back from that 2 years ago god-awful summer.
Not to Rudy
I waited like 4 extra months to really confirm my thoughts. But 8-5-4 in the 7th.
Race number 8 this afternoon, stakes action, the Toboggan Grade 3 event, $175,000 up for grabs, and they will go 7 furlongs.
Seth will be on the network. I like both races. I don't have a firm opinion on the races. I thought the Toboggan, I'm 275 as be put up there. I know there's an 8-5 shot in here. And I would raise an eyebrow if Skylander won, but I think 6 horses in here fit, and I have the next longest shot besides the horse I just tossed, and that's Murray going out for Brittany Russell. Have you tried getting her back on?
No,
getting her on?
Not yet.
Okay,
I will.
Because she's live in New York, and she's got a major Mid-Atlantic shipper, in my opinion, coming in for a second. Kinetic Sky. On the outside, Richard Dutrow, 8-5. Fits in this horse, and obviously Dutrow going great since his return. And then Super Chow coming off of a huge effort down at Gulfstream Park. But I like Murray in the upset in the Toboggan, 275. They don't put it in anymore, Seth, but I would think this is like the 120th running of the Toboggan.
It's got it, yeah. And speaking of Brittany Russell, Steve Vick tweeted out a great picture. I was talking on his radio show Wednesday about it. He was down in Florida for the Pegasus, and on his flight home, he tweeted out a picture. He goes to sit. I said, "Were you really in that row?" Or did you? He said, "No, that's really where He came. He sat down. He's next to Brittany Russell and Kerry Briand in this in the same row. That was kind of wild. What are the odds of that happening? The 9th at Aqueduct is the Withers Grade 3 event, $250,000, 9 furlongs.
With Open sitting on Southwest, the odds are pretty good.
I think it was an Open. But he didn't.
He sat first?
Yeah, no. She sat first, but he had her on the radio show, but didn't know her.
Oh.
So he said,
I told you how good she was.
She wasn't in the nobody was in the middle seat yet, but she said, "Oh, my friend's coming to sit down." When the friend sat down, Vic said, "Oh, you could have said your friend." So yeah, but it was a Southwest, so yeah, I guess the chances are slightly better.
Now, here's one thing. I think this is true, and our director would probably know this off the top of. I think the Withers is older than the Derby.
That sounds right.
8-1-3 in an upset in here, and like I said, it's older than the Kentucky Derby. Uncle Heavy makes the 4th career start. One on debut going 2 turns. Social Inclusion, you might remember that runner a couple of years ago, sends out this Pennsylvania bred. For second, Brad Cox and Lightline is 8-5 here. I trust that they also looked at that. I don't see 8-5 here. I don't see that at all. Towering over this horse. He's 70s basically after the debut, and then Speed Runner. So 8-1-3. I think both stakes are wide open. I'd almost be surprised if Lightline won this race.
Yeah, I took a shot with the 1.
But I think I like Speed Runner.
I think Lightline. I think a lot of that's Brad Cox.
Yes, of course.
But I will note that finished second to Carbone. And you get a little barometer on Carbone. It will be, I believe, later in the day. But 10th at Aqueduct, state bred maiden claimers going 6.5.
Wide open 13 entered in the main in the race. 7-2-12. Resume a Mike Rapoli. Now, Mike Rapoli had horses with Rudy a long time ago. This isn't something new. I mean, they've been together a lot. This horse did one of my favorite things, which is run worse on debut. He gave me 4 furlongs, then he packed it in. We'll see. I think the moisture shouldn't hurt. I don't know that we'll get 6-1. Zen Lu, first time in for a tag. The 2 is my second pick. And on the outside-ish, number 12, Jay's Love. Oscar Rivera the third sends out this runner. Tried maiden claimer 40, now tries the 25, 7-2-12. In the finale, going off at about 4:26.
All right, we'll take our next break. When we come back, Gulfstream. Stay tuned. There's no better place to enjoy horse racing action than the Capital OTB Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, just minutes off of I-90. The Clubhouse Racebook features over 200 flat-screen TVs, bringing you racing action from across the country, plus all the major sporting events. Racing info, tip sheets, promotions and events, track odds, plenty of parking, and a full bar and restaurant. Stop by today. Capital OTB's Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Time to turn to Gulfstream Park on, one of their bigger days of the year. Holy Bull Day, one of the great runners of the 1990s and basically the last 25 years, I guess we're close to. The opener, we're going to be on the dirt. Opener is at 12:10. Maiden claimer Phillies going 6.5.
I'm going with the Kozakta, 7-4, 6 and 5. Kozan on top for Kozal, the 7 horse. Debut effort was pretty good, and Kozan is a good sire of win early types with the experience under the belt now. Luis Saez jumps on board. I'll look for that one to break through. I'll go with a firster from Kozan underneath. Lace Curtain going out for Steve Klasaris off a series of works that, are eye-popping, but I think they're pretty good and good enough to, match up with this bunch. Of those that have raced, there's no world beaters in here. I'll go with another firster, in fact. In the third spot, Evanora by Gervin. Gervin is a pretty good sire of first out runners also. And this one, again, has some workouts that are okay, relatively speaking. So we'll look for Kozan to get through with one or the other, the second-time starter, the first-time starter, another win early sire in Gervin underneath. 7-4, 6 and 5.
Onto the turf for race number 2, 7.5 furlongs. 4-year-olds and up, optional claimers, 1X. 5,
6, 1, and 4. I'm going to put Alley-Oop Johnny on top. Tyler Gaffleone on board, and he was on board last time when this horse arrived at Gulfstream from a long layoff, May to mid-January, and the comebacker was pretty good. I'll look for that one to have put some fitness into the horse, and if that's so, and this horse can move forward off of that, I think is in a good spot. Alexis Zorba in the second spot. Comes in third start off a layup. These days, not a huge layup, middle of October to towards the end of December, but improved nicely start 1 to start 2. Got the win last time to break the maiden, so now goes up a condition, and sometimes it takes a start to figure that out, but it's Mike Maker, Luis Saez, and again, moving in the right direction, third start back. And my man Mike Deaney comes cross-state with straight arrow over from Tampa. And I like that they looked at the condition book and they're taking the shot here. Trying the grass for only the second time. First grass start wasn't bad, pretty good number. And again, that they elected to look at the condition book and take the shot. Paco Lopez hops on board. I think this horse could be interesting. It may be a little bit of a price, not a huge price, but we're looking at 5 to 1 on the morning line. So there might be a little value there for my man Deaney. In the second, 5, 6, 1, and 4. On
to the third, State Breds, Phillies and Merrows going 6.5.
I have it 5, 2, 3, and 1. The 5 is a Marty Drexler horse, had his horse in the previous race as well. And I talked about him, 3 or 4 weeks ago, saying the last couple of years at the championship meet, he's been okay coming down from Woodbine. Last year, he had a very nice meet, and it got better as the meet went along. And so we'll see if he can start to move into that direction, as we are here early in February. Last year, his March was really good also. So keep that in mind. He may warm up even more as the meet goes along, and he's going okay now. But this one comes in from Woodbine, came in and ran fourth last time in a similar event. So with the start over the track and some back numbers that are pretty good over the track, we'll look for Foxy Lady on top. Adios Babe in the second spot. Nice win last time. In a similar event, moves into a new barn this afternoon, but I think off of that race last time, certainly has to be considered. And Minksy in the third spot. Nice win, two back. Tossed in a clunker last time. The last race, though, looks like a little bit of an aberration. Was out kind of dueling and faded. I think the horse is better than that, so I'm going to put that one back in the mix again today. In the third, I have a 5, 2, 3, and 1.
On to the fourth, we get onto the synthetic for the first time. 3-year-olds maiden special weights going 1:16.
5, 1, 2, and 4 bail us out on top. Todd Pletcher trainee that ran fourth in debut. It's a Pletcher Rapoli runner. They paid $700,000 and went off at 11-1. So wasn't expected to get it done and didn't, running fourth in the field of 8. But with that one under the belt, I'm going to look for some improvement this afternoon. Domingo in the second spot, Brendan Walsh runner that in 3 starts so far hasn't really shown a whole lot, but nice little workout coming into this. And again, with the experience under the belt, Luis Saez hopping on board today. I'll tilt in that direction. Then Who's the King, the Mark Casse runner. Seen most recently at Turfway. The whole career has been in Kentucky. Debuted at Keeneland. Put in a pretty good run at Turfway in second career start. And then a dud last time. Comes down to Gulfstream and moves over to the synthetic. This isn't a particularly strong field. Again, bail us out is 8-5 on the morning line off a fourth place finish, but the number's very good. And if this horse runs back to that number, has the edge in here. But I'll say this is not a field that inspires a whole lot of confidence. But for me, 5, 1, 2, and 4.
On to the fifth, 7.5 furlongs on the turf, 4-year-olds and up. Optional claim is 25, entry level. I always laugh because this has been the most ridiculed distance probably in horse racing because of the run up and the post positions you draw, but good luck.
4, 3, 7, and 2. Okay, Boomer on top goes out 4. Todd Pletcher moved over to the synthetic last time and ran a good effort, but the turf races underneath are very good as well. So getting back to the grass this afternoon, I'll tilt in favor of this one. But I do think Listen to the Music is very interesting for Danny Gargan. Last time just got off badly and was towards the back of the pack. You look at the 2 races before that, was much more up in the mix. So I think on the stretch out here and with a little more pace that this horse normally shows as compared to last time, I think Listen to the Music could be interesting today at a price, 10-1 on the morning line. And then Smoky Mandate in the third spot. Last seen in a series of stakes races. So I just like the fact that today they're going back to the more proper non-winners of one other than Mike Maker, Tyler Gaffleone. I think on the class move, this horse becomes very dangerous today. But as you kind of alluded to, the 7 post, that's close enough. Once you got out to 9, 10, but 7, I'm a little more comfortable with. But in this field is out towards the outside. 4, 3, 7, and 2.
One more before the break. Race number 6, 3-year-olds, optional claimers, entry level allowance, going the dirt, 1 turn mile. 5, 6, 1, and 4 on the stakes card today. Folks are looking forward to the Holy Bull coming up later on, some other stakes action. But this race is going to attract a lot of attention because you have a very good-looking 3-year-old from Pletcher and St. Elias and West Point and Company in Born Noble. Even money on the morning line. I had to use that one on top off the debut effort. 5, 6, 1, and 4. Just, again, impressed in a way that says, oh, this might be a 3-year-old to watch on the trail. The horse gets it done today. We can look for stakes action next time and a move towards the Derby trail, but was very impressive in debut and will take a lot of attention. Just if not betting, a lot of people are going to be watching to see how Born Noble does this afternoon. Merritt in the second spot, Safi Joseph runner, also impressed in debut and also is going to be very intriguing this afternoon. Piper's Factor,
Comes down off a series of races up at Woodbine, including some stakes tries where the horse ran second. And I think with that stakes experience already under the belt, this horse, 6-1 on the morning line, and with the other two I mentioned, might get a little overlooked, but I think could be an interesting player in here in the sixth, 5, 6, 1, and 4.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, stakes laden second half of today's action from Gulfstream.
And they're off in the Pegasus World Cup. They're off in the Fountain of Youth Stakes. And they're off in the Curlin Florida Derby. Forte wins. White Aborio almost home.
And Nyquist is still unbeaten. Orb and John Velasquez have won the Florida Derby.
Barbaro wins.
And there you have it. Northern Dancer will be the winner of the Florida Derby.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back. Race number 7 on the synthetic 3-year-old fillies, maiden special weights, going a mile and 16.
7, 9, 8, and 2. I'm going to put Midsummer Mo on top for Mark Cassie. I thought the debut was okay. We're looking at 6-1 on the morning line for a horse that, again, comparatively speaking to the horses that have run, ran a pretty good-looking debut. Certainly the experience will be beneficial, and I'll look for this one to move forward. Midsummer Mo on top. Ella McGeeth in the second spot, Todd Pletcher runner that also ran a pretty good-looking debut, as did the Rustiano runner poolside with Slim. Their number was a little bit better than Midsummer Mo, but I think they all have some upside potential. And the latest workout for Midsummer Mo was, I thought, good looking enough to think there could be some improvement there that will put this horse right in the thick of things with the other two. But they're all very evenly matched to me in the 7th, 7, 9, 8, and 2.
5 in a row stakes races to wrap it up. First up, 3-year-old fillies, the sweetest chant on the turf, mile 16.
1, 6, 2, and 5 up with Life's an Audible on top for Pletcher and Rapoli. Nice second last time in the Ginger Brew here at Gulfstream, going a mile on the turf. Now goes a mile and a 16th. And I think off of the series of races we're looking at, including that last effort, Life's Audible is kind of logical in here. But dynamic pricing comes in for Chad and Klarovich of a maiden debut win at Aqueduct in November. Little time off, now comes back as a 3-year-old. These are the kind that can be improved on the comeback off a lightly raced 2-year-old campaign and then a little time off. So dynamic pricing. I mean, if this horse floats up to what the morning line shows at 8-1, I think is very dangerous and very attractive. Madam Mischief in the third spot, ran 4th in that Ginger Brew, was behind Life's an Audible. But I think you look at the overall record, and again, the fact that we seem to be moving in the right direction number-wise, Madam Mischief is also very dangerous. In the 8th, the Swedish champ, 1, 6, 2, and 5.
9th race on the card, coming up the 40th anniversary of Lafitte Pincay's lone Derby win, the Swale.
7, 6, 1, and 2, Legalize on top for Cherie DeVoe. Looked very good so far in the career. Just got a little experience in the Keeneland debut, then goes over to Churchill and wins very nicely to break the maiden, then down to Fairgrounds and into the Sugar Bowl, and continues the win streak. I think this is a very, very interesting little 3-year-old, certainly on the sprint side at this point. I'll use Legalize on top. Risk It, we saw that really impressive debut up at Saratoga. Hasn't quite lived up to that. Ran a good little second in the Iroquois, but then 4th in the Kentucky Jockey Club, and disappointed down at Fairgrounds in the Gun Runner. Track Phantom's going to turn out to be nice, I think, though. I'm going to look for Risk It to improve on the move over to Gulfstream, and more importantly, the cutback maybe to the 7 furlongs. And then Ben Tornato in the 3rd spot. Been facing the Florida Breds in that Sire Series down there and has been very competitive. Another one that I think is going to appreciate the cutback to the sprint distance this afternoon and maybe get back on the winning track after having a win streak snapped last time when trying 2 turns. So we'll put that one in the thick of things as well. In the Swale, 7, 6, 1, and 2.
And the 10th time for 3-year-old fillies to go 7/8 in the Forward Gal.
7, 2, 6, and 5. Whitwaters Rand coming down from Woodbine for Mark Casse, but a couple of wins, bookending a 3rd place finish. 2 of those races, including the win last time, were in stakes company. I think this one is very intriguing, trying the dirt this afternoon. So we'll take Whitwaters Rand in the top spot. Fiona's Magic underneath off a couple of wins right here at Gulfstream. They try stakes company this afternoon, but I think they're picking a good time to do it. Again, strike while the iron is hot, and this horse is racing and running very well. Tyler Gaffleone hops on board. And Scalable, a 9-5 favorite. No real arguments in here, but did take 4 starts to break the maiden. Did it very impressively last time, going a mile right here at Gulfstream. Now cuts back to 7 furlongs. Likely the one to beat, but in the 10th for me, 7, 2, 6, and 5.
The 11th, 3-year-olds on the turf. The Kitten's Joy, a mile of 16.
Agate Road on top, 4, 5, 6, and 8. It's Todd Pletcher, Rapoli, St. Elias coming out of the Dania Beach as the beaten favorite. I'm going to look for this one to turn the tables on to KO, who is also in here. I left that one out of my mix. I'm going to be interested to see how that's going to work out for me. But I'm going to look for Agate Road to turn the tables. Deadpan in the 2nd spot, another Mark Casse runner. Clearly, they had some expectations for this horse, broke the maid at Keeneland. Then they went out to Del Mar, tried a stakes race at the end of the season. Came back here to Gulfstream and ran 3rd last time. It just seems to me like maybe this horse is kind of getting better number-wise with some experience. I'm going to look for that to continue today. And First World War going out for Brendan Walsh off a close-up 2nd place finish last time in the Mucho Macho Man. That obviously was on the dirt, but I do think the turf races earlier in the career indicate this horse is going to be very intriguing and dangerous this afternoon. I will note in the 4th spot, I have Freedom Principle at 20-1. Off the last couple of starts, I think this horse is, if we get a price like that, throw Freedom Principle in the mix somehow anyway. But for me, in the 11th, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
And in the finale, the Holy Bowl.
7, 3, 1, and 2. I will use Fierceness on top. The 2-year-old champ, but do note, I still don't know that there's an explanation for the Champagne. So it may be a horse that just has to be feeling it that day. But certainly what we've seen on the winning end, very, very impressive. They get back on the trail as a 3-year-old in this start. And so I'll look for him to continue. But I do also think Otello, very interesting for Christophe Clement. 2 for 2 so far. Numbers clearly lighter than the better numbers from Fierceness, but only 2 starts and a win in the Mucho Macho Man. Otello is interesting. And then Hades in the 3rd spot off a nice couple of wins, including a decent number last time for Joe Orsino. Paco Lopez sticks on board in the 12th and final. The Holy Bull scheduled to golf at about 5:45 this afternoon. I have it 7, 3, 1, and 2.
And that wraps up our look at a terrific card down at Gulfstream Park. Hopefully they'll have outstanding weather. He stays, I go, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully the weather will be as good as we can expect in New York. But enjoy your Saturday of racing.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.